Very much. If you would like to be seated, we'll get started. Okay, my name's James Newberry. I'm a Grant County Commissioner. Welcome all of you for being here today. This is truly a historic day, and hopefully you can see the number of people. By the number of people you see up here, you can see how complicated this whole issue has been and how hard we've worked on this. And there's a lot of people to thank today, but we're basically just going to try to celebrate the day. And what I'd like to do is kind of go around and give you a feel for the people who are here. So I'll do those introductions. Eric Kuhn from the River District, Penfield Tate, Denver Water Board. Everybody knows the governor, Mr. Hickenlooper. Nancy Stuart, Grant County Commissioner. Greg Austin with Denver Water. And Karn. I can't say your last name. I can hardly say your first name. And she's a a Summit County Commissioner. Bill Baum. Let's come back over here. I should have let everybody just do this. Thomas Davidson, okay, is a commissioner from Summit County. Barney White is the attorney for Summit County. We have Patty Wells from Denver Water, attorney. Peter Fleming from the River District. Stan Kazir, Middle Park. John Bickerman, you're going to hear more about him. He's the one that's kind of kept this whole mediation process going. We've got Jim Lockhead, Denver Water. Tom Gujan, Denver Water Board. CEO, Jim Lockhead, I should say. Dan Gibbs is a Summit County Commissioner. Gary Bumgardner with Grand County. Gary Martinez is the Summit County Manager. And Dave Little, known to everyone as just an all-around good guy. Lurleen Underbrink Curran over in the corner here. Stand up so everybody can see you, Lurleen. Integral part of this whole process. We have Grand County's attorney over here. This is, he was Grand County's attorney. Jack Nicola, Barbara Green, and David Tosick. Did I miss anybody else? Did I butcher that enough? Okay, so thank you all for being here today. And again, these are some of the people that were most instrumental in making this whole thing happen. Some of the things that we would like to talk about today is how this agreement really solidifies and shows a new way of doing water business in Colorado. And basically what we tried to look at was how do you protect the resource, what is the best thing to do for the resource, and with that in mind, Denver Water stepping up and coming to the plate and saying, look, we need to do what's best for both sides of the divide and stop the fighting between both sides. I don't know if that will ever stop, but at the same time, if we work on things in a cooperative manner, then can't we achieve more? And the money we would be spending on lawsuits and attorneys and everything else, we could be spending towards the resource. And that was basically the goal behind this. Some of the things that have already come out from this agreement that we have not even finalized is the sediment pond. If you know the Mary Jane entrance up on Highway 40 near the ski areas, that's something that was part of the agreement at one time, but it was so important to Denver Water, to the water providers up in the Upper Fraser, that we went ahead and moved forward with that anyway. And it's just something that shows a little bit of leap of faith on both sides, that we will continue with the process and we're going to continue to do the right thing. Also, as we were in this discussion, the endangered species water, the 10825 water, outside of this agreement, outside of the northern or the Windy Gap Firming Project, outside of the Moffett Project. But we had the right people in the room to come up with a solution, and that solution is to take 5,412 acre feet, store it in Granby Reservoir, and release it onto the Colorado when the Colorado needs it the most, and that's late summer when the temperatures are up and the fish are stressed the most, and it's just the right thing to do. So that's kind of a baseline of how we're doing all these different projects. Also, the Denver Water just went into, what do you guys call it, phase one? Stage one watering restrictions, which means that they could dip into the bypass flows up in the Upper Fraser, but as this agreement states, this is something that they will not do until they get to basically in-house use or non-watering outside, which they have never done before. Those bypass flows are very, very important for the Upper Frasers. A few CFS here and there, but that makes a big difference in the Upper Fraser. So I just wanted to give you a couple of lead-ins, and some of these other people might talk a little more about some of these things, but this has been a long journey. It's been, 5.5, 6 years now we've been together. And when we first started this, again, there was a lot of apprehension on both sides. I don't know that we weren't really truly bought in from the very start, I think. But then Mayor Hickenlooper, actually, we went down to meet with him and try to move this forward. And he brought his Denver Water Board in and said, let's make this thing happen. And Denver Water Board members came to the plate and actually started working on this agreement. So I give a lot of credit to now Governor Hickenlooper for his leadership in bringing everyone together to make this happen. And so that's all I have for introductions, and we'll be back to talk a little bit. And who's next?
I think I am.
We'll let the governor talk some.
I will.
Thank you, James, and thanks for all your work. You played a significant role through this whole thing. We really appreciate it. I also want to point out John Stulp is here, who's we don't call him a water czar, but he has more knowledge, or as much knowledge as anybody in the state, and certainly has played a wonderful role behind. And then James Eklund is one seat over from him, who was, my water lawyer, although I'm not really supposed to have a water lawyer per se. I thought that what Commissioner Newberry was talking about, I'm not sure the fighting's ever going to completely stop, but it is nice to see that we're at least moving into rubber bullets and beanbag shotguns rather than the high velocity weapons we've been using before. I want to just take one moment. I'm going to try and be brief because I know there are a lot of people going to speak and this can go on forever. But I wanted to read a poem that was sent over to us called Extraordinary, but extra capitalized E and then ordinary capitalized. And we have a special session going on in Denver, which is you can only call those under extraordinary circumstances. And I want to point out also this poem is by Greg Hobbs, Justice Hobbs, just so it's clear that I'm not cribbing it. Nothing is ordinary about this May. A permission is given. Reservoirs are mostly full from unexpectedly good years, amidst dire predictions of long-term crisis, amidst the enduring condition of civilization's inevitable expansion. They are coming, those who follow us, through thick or thin. We must not forget them, whether or not they remember us, for now we are responsible. And I think, as he always does, or so often does, Justice Hobbs has kind of captured the spirit that this is a historic moment. And there are an awful lot of people in this room that have worked on it a long time. And James Newberry and his fellow commissioners, Nancy Stuart and Gary Baumgartner. We have three of the water commissioners here from Denver, Tate and Greg Austin. But Tom Goujon, who is also here, was really one of the first people at Denver Water who really sunk his teeth into this and really does deserve to be looked at as one of the many architects of this. And obviously Summit County Commissioners, Karen Stiegelmeier, and Dan Gibbs, and Tom Davidson, and then Bill Baum from the Clinton Ditch and Reservoir Company. One thing you learn when you campaign statewide in Colorado is that Colorado's water is never far from mind. In the special session we just called, one of the big reasons we had to call the special session was there were $60 million in water projects that somehow got buried along with those other 30 bills last Tuesday night. I think that bill, had we not gotten to it, the cost, there were some estimates that the cost could be as much to Colorado as over $20,000 a day. Now, obviously, without being able, the legislators under the dome have had difficulty finding consensus on a couple issues, but don't miss the fact that they have collaborated on a remarkable number of issues, right? Of purple states, where states you have one house in Democratic hands, one house in Republican hands. We passed our budget with 86 votes out of 100. No one else is doing that. And when you see our legislators, you should thank them for that work, because I think we should pride ourselves as a state where things get done. And I think what we're talking about with these four parties, with Denver Water, Grand County, Summit County, and the Clinton Ditch and Reservoir Company, what they're doing is another example of that. This is historic. They're standing here with pens in hand after 90 years after the mother of all water compacts, isn't that what John tells me to say? The Colorado River Compact was signed back in 1922, and this hasn't come easily. We suggested originally hiring a mediator just to hope that we could find some pathway forward. And just the suggestion back then, there were tremors. We weren't sure exactly whether there were real earthquakes or just tremors. And yet, these 6 years later, we can see the result of that hard work. And we're surrounded here by the mountains and the valleys, the peaks, the rivers, the streams of Colorado, and we see so clearly their beauty, but in this season especially, we see their fragility. And you don't have to be reading the newspaper every day to know that we've had a very thin year so far in terms of water. Our reservoirs are still fairly full, but our snowpack, we saw today that as of May 15th, the snowpack in Gunnison County is down to 9% of what it should be. I mean, there are people in Gunnison talking about looking at 2002 as a wet year. And I think that stress that it puts on the Colorado River and its tributaries is only going to intensify. You know, Colorado is growing. It's over 5 million. We passed the 5 million mark in 2008. They're saying that in 40 years we could easily be at 9 or 10 million. And I think that alone is enough to put pressure on our water supplies without the fact that we recognize, A, the risk of climate change. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm not saying the sky's falling, but certainly it is a significant risk. If the same amount of precipitation comes but falls as rain rather than snow, we don't have the reservoirs to preserve it and save it. And more importantly, we see that a lot of the climate change scientists think that we might get drier. Add to that, you know, in the past, the legally recognized uses for water were drinking, farming, and industrial operations. Today, we recognize environmental and recreation uses, and that they're legitimate uses of the river and legally recognized. So as we have more uses and quite likely less water and more people, we have to continue focusing on how do we make wise decisions. We're a semi-arid state. We know that every year. A couple of our watersheds, we're going to see this is going to be the driest, at least so far, some of the driest situation in our recorded history. And we certainly, this is supposed to be mud season. I didn't see any mud coming up here. This is classic. You guys all know this. I mean, 80% of our moisture falls west of the Continental Divide. 80% of the consumption is east of the Continental Divide. Clearly, we're not going to resolve any of this without a serious level of collaboration. And I think taking this momentous step of signing the Colorado River Cooperative Agreement, it puts Colorado on a better footing for balancing the competing interests going into the future. It is a very powerful example of the innovative and collaborative approach which will be used again and again, right? Until you have a success like this, people remain skeptical. But it's like a muscle. Once you begin using it, I think it gets stronger, and we'll be able to replicate this more frequently. I think the spirit of what these folks have done needs to be modeled and practiced again and again, and I think that process of replication will make the state stronger and better prepared. We'll have a more secure water source in the future, both for the headwater counties up here, but for Denver as well, and making sure that we are protecting and preserving our in-stream flows, and establishing a way of, managing and developing our water without, using collaboration in place of conflict. I think the next step is to successfully implement those various elements of the agreement. That sometimes the devil's in the details, but they've gone through an awful lot of these details already, and I think we're pretty far down that road. Ultimately, today, Colorado is the ultimate beneficiary.
Next, we'll have Nancy Stuart, Grand County Commissioner.
The front of our program today is a work of art by pioneer painter John Harrison Mills, who lived from 1842 to 1916. And his biography was written by Nelson A. Riger, who allowed us to use it on the front of our program, and is also going to make some posters available at the museum here in Hot Sulphur for sale. His title of his biography is The Headwaters of the Grand River, which is now what we call the Colorado. And through our efforts today, our hope is that it will help restore the Colorado to a grand river. Our goal through these negotiations was to be better off tomorrow than we are today with our water resources. We wanted to make decisions for Grand County and not be totally reliant on the permitting process. Learning by doing is going to be one of the most important components and for the continued health of our resources. And we really appreciate the support and the trust and the effort. It was a gamble, but it was one that was worth the time, the effort, and the money spent. We weren't alone in this process. Trout Unlimited, Summit County, Eagle County, the Middle River, and Grand Valley water users were all a big part of it. And I'd like to thank each and every one of them that helped in this process, because it is a great celebration today. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys that showed up to join with us in this celebration. Thank you.
It says on the agenda, I'm up here again, but I'm just going to turn this over to Penfield Tate from Denver Water. He, like Tom Gajan, has been instrumental in this from day one and has done an outstanding job for Grand County and Denver Water and the West Slope.
Thanks. Let me thank the Grand County Commissioners for their fortitude in their work and for hosting us today, and thank you for having us here in this beautiful county. Every time you make the drive up here, it just takes your breath away. You can never get used to it. Governor, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us today to celebrate this occasion. I'm honored to be here on behalf of Denver Water on this historic occasion. This agreement that we're signing marks, we believe, the beginning of a new era of interregional and hopefully one day statewide cooperation with a broad goal of creating a brighter and more sustainable future for Colorado. Denver Water and its partners are proud to be part of this sustainability movement that really focuses on helping Colorado develop communities that are vibrant, that are livable, and that are enduring. And water is clearly a key part of that. We often say in Denver, you don't think about it very often until you want to water the lawn or turn on the spigot or do something, and all of a sudden you become aware of the fact really how interdependent we all are. It's something we all rely upon, but we tend to take for granted. We're saying by this agreement that there's a better way of doing business. We've ended a bunch of lawsuits, and we've decided to cooperate, and that's important from my perspective. I mean, I'm a lawyer, so lawsuits aren't always a bad thing, but there are times when you have to just kind of come to your senses and say, it's better to reach an agreement and have certainty than spend a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of other people's money fighting over things that you really shouldn't be fighting about. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the planet. We need to have a healthier way of ensuring a more reliable water supply for people throughout the state on both sides of the divide, all of our customers. This Colorado River Cooperation Agreement we're signing today is not just for Denver Water, but it's for the entire state, as I said. This is the better way to go. We're settling a number of disputes. We're also working with the West Slope and a number of communities on an ongoing, permanent basis. This isn't a one-shot deal. We're committing to be joined at the hip into the future. We're going to be working cooperatively on a number of things in terms of developing additional water supply, working on additional projects, and working on reuse and conservation throughout not only Denver Water's territory, but throughout the state. As James said, this has not been easy. It's been 6 years? maybe more. And some of the initial meetings weren't the friendliest of gatherings, to say the least. I can remember in a couple hotels where people kind of got up and walked out the room and swore never to speak again. But the most important thing is we came back and we sat down. And John Bickerman deserves a lot of credit for spending a lot of hours on a plane and a lot of time on the phone telling folks you can really get this done because you're committed to getting it done. You want to get this done. This agreement allows Denver Water to move forward with our Moffett project, which is important for us to help provide additional reliability for our customers. The way our system is set up, we bring water in from the southern part of the city and the northern part of the city, and the Moffett system supplies the northern part of the city, and there have been times where we've run out of water from the northern side, and we've had to pump treated water north and then bring it back down to our customers up there. So the gross reservoir on the Moffett project is huge for us, and we're moving forward with that because all of the people in the room helped us reach this agreement and said, we know that's important for you, and there are some things that you're doing that are important for us. As I said, the collaboration's important. And as we've worked through this, I keep thinking about something when I talk to folks around Denver about this. I often say it's important to do a deal like this because water is something none of us know how to make any more of. So the best we can do is manage a resource that's been given to us by other sources to make sure it's available for everyone in the state, not just those of us in Denver. As I said, we're going to be an ongoing partner with you. We're committing resources, money, and water to help with ongoing development on the western slope. We'll continue to be your partners just as we have been up to this point. And again, thank you all for being here, and thank you for the opportunity to celebrate this occasion. I'd now like to introduce Summit County Commissioner Karn Stiegelmeier.
Thank you, Penn, and thank you all for being here. It's a great honor to speak on behalf of the people of Summit County. And I just have to start by telling you a story of how we got here. We came right over Ute Pass, and looking down on Williams Fork, all of a sudden there was a roadblock, and it was about 200 head of cattle. And so we had to weave our way through a lot of BS to get here, and I thought that was appropriate for a lot of what we've been through. We made it through, we navigated our way, and we made it here. So this long winding river of negotiations has taken many turns, some very difficult, and I think one thing that we've gained is relationships with people in this room that didn't exist before in this new era of cooperation. Cooperation is so easy to say, it can be extremely difficult to actually do. So I think a lot of thank yous are in order. I want to start by thanking my fellow commissioners, Thomas Davidson and Dan Gibbs, and our Headwaters partners, Summit County Commissioners, and a special thanks to their fearless leader, Lurleen Corinne. The fearless Lurleen. Also, our Summit County manager has put a lot of time into this project, and many of you have found that he is an amazing problem solver, and we're really looking forward to having him spend some of that talent in our own county. So we're hoping to see this actually be easier as we go forward. We, the people of Summit County, love our mountains. We love our what we call Lake Dillon, and that happens to be the largest reservoir for Denver water. Tourism is our lifeblood in Summit County, and we're really proud of our world-class skiing, our gold medal fisheries, and that recreation is the backdrop of the Colorado postcard. As the governor points out many times, people don't just choose to live in Denver or bring a business to Denver because of Denver per se, but because of the backdrop and because of the recreational opportunities up here in the mountains. So thank you to the governor for spreading that word around the state. We really appreciate that appreciation of how our water resources in Summit County actually serve the interests of the entire state. This agreement honors that recognition and protects Colorado waters and future generations, retaining those Colorado values. Thank you also to the governor for your initial forward thinking as mayor of Denver and some of your appointments. In particular, I just wanted to highlight George Beardsley, I think was instrumental in moving forward the idea of mutual benefits. The water and snow-based recreation in the West Slope has promoted this broader understanding of what's good for the entire state. Just a few more thank yous here. Thank you to the Water Board and Jim Lockhead for doing the real hard work of actually including these broader perspectives in their work, and also for being the leaders in water conservation and reuse. This is something that is extremely meaningful to people in Summit County, that Denver Water is the leader in conservation and reuse. One more mutual benefit that's highlighted for us right now, we're extremely anxious about this low snowpack and the possibility of a wildfire nightmare. And so in this agreement, there is money for fire mitigation, for watershed protection that will protect the Blue River watershed, and that is also protecting the water supply of Denver. And this sounds so simple. I was explaining it to Summit Middle School 8th grade science classes just last week. But we all know that it's actually extremely complicated. And there are many people in this room who have been involved with those details and complications, including many attorneys and even engineers who've had to draw outside their boundaries and beyond their lines of comfort to make some of these winning solutions actually work in the confines of Colorado water law. So I want to highlight one particular person who has been the steady hand on the tiller for Summit County since the very beginning, and he's here today. Our astoundingly adept water attorney, Barney White. Thank you, Barney. And amongst the many attorneys who worked on this is Bill Baum, who has been the Clinton Board president for the last 3 years, and on the Clinton Board and the general counsel for Winter Park since 1998. Bill Baum.
So everybody here knows pretty much, I think, who Summit County is, Denver Water, the governor, and there's probably a number of people saying, what is Clinton and why is it here? And I should explain that briefly, because one reason Clinton's here is because it's an example of how cooperation has worked in the past to create a water security, a more water secure future for a lot of the residents on the West Slope. Clinton Reservoir is a reservoir that, as you drive from Copper Mountain up to Leadville, if you look on your left about 2/3 of the way up, you'll see a pristine reservoir up there, and that's Clinton Reservoir. And that was a reservoir that was made or was created by Climax in order to create pristine water that it could mix with some of its treated water so that it could continue its molybdenum production and without polluting the streams to an unacceptable level. In 1992, that reservoir became available for sale for a lot of reasons, but mostly because the price of molybdenum had dropped from $34 a kilo to $3 a kilo. And so the mine was going to be mothballed for a while. And a group of entities got together to buy Clinton Reservoir to provide water for themselves. And that included Summit County, the towns of Breckenridge, Dillon, Silverthorne, the Keystone, Breckenridge, A Basin, Copper Mountain, and Winter Park ski areas. And that water became used as a main source of water, a primary source of water for most of those Summit County entities, and for the ski areas that operate in Summit County, which of course are some of the biggest ski areas in Colorado. In order to use that water from that little reservoir up there for all of the snowmaking throughout that part of Colorado, and let alone to get the water from there over to Winter Park so it could be used over here and in other places in Grand County, required a major cooperative effort. And that took place in 1992, and you can see how much this sounds like what the governor described and how maybe that was the first exercise of our cooperative muscle, and this is sort of a completion of it. There was a need to resolve some issues involving the Green Mountain Reservoir operating plan. We needed, in order to be able to resolve, we needed the federal government's help in resolving that to create Clinton and allow the use of the water from that reservoir to be used throughout a good part of the western slope. And then we needed Denver Water to cooperate so that the water from that little reservoir could be moved around to a lot of different places, basically. And they allowed us to wheel water through their system to get water to the towns of Breckenridge and then over into the entities in Grand County. In particular, we were trying to get snowmaking water to Winter Park Resort, and I see Jerry Groswald back here, who was part of the original Clinton effort, to get water from that little reservoir in Summit County to the slopes of Winter Park to be used on the other side of the mountains that are in between was a major effort and could only work if Denver Water allowed the use of its Vasquez and its Moffett collection system, its Vasquez Canal, to allow Winter Park to take water out of its north side system, which has the shorter of the two systems in terms of supply, and then repay that water from Clinton down into Denver's resource in Lake Dillon. So that became a major effort that required Denver Water's cooperation. It also required the cooperation of the Attorney General's office and the water engineer to create legal workings for that kind of a transfer of water. And all those things sound like exactly what we've been doing here for the last 5 years, and in fact they are, just on a smaller scale. And I can tell you that over the last 20 years, and I've only been involved with Clinton for the last 13 of them, but over those last 20 years, it's been a difficult time, and the cooperation doesn't end once we sign this. The cooperation starts when we sign this, and then we have to work out, as everybody said, all of the details. Clinton has been a great success. It continues to be a great success, and it's a testament to what cooperation and collaboration can do. This, from Clinton's standpoint, is an extension of that cooperation and collaboration. Thanks very much to Penn and the Denver Water Board members who are here. They did a great job. To the county commissioners in Grand and Summit County, they were extremely instrumental. To John Bickerman, who really was one of the real driving forces that kept this process moving, and to the River District and other people who all played an important role in this. So this is a way to secure or further secure the water future for so many of the Grand County entities. It allows the industry that I work in to continue to operate and provide us a chance to earn a living and live in this great environment. And I can just say that thanks to all of those people, and Clinton is very pleased and very proud to be a part of this process. One of the places where we have to go to get our water and to get our right to use the water is the River District. And Eric, you're on. Thank you.
If I'm the last speaker before they sign this thing, I better, make my comments quick and sit down, right? Yes, exactly. It's an honor to be here on behalf of the Colorado River Water Conservation District, think west of the Continental Divide, Colorado River Drainage. And I want to thank all of you, especially for coming out for this. I want to thank the governor and obviously all of the participants. And I want to second what Karn said, especially thank Lurleen for her work in this process. And also just make a little quick point here. The Colorado River District and the CWCB are having a joint meeting later today in Glenwood Springs, and we're celebrating our 75th anniversaries. Both those districts, along with the Northern District, which operates the CBT, have their 75th year today. And I've done a lot of reading about our history and some of the thoughts that some of our folks that originated the CBT and the River District in Grand County, how they considered the world in the 30s. And I've come to the conclusion that they could come back today, sit down in this room. Now, they wouldn't recognize the cell phones and all this fancy stuff, but they would know the issues we're discussing. They could sit down and probably have the same discussion we were having 2 days ago when we were trying to finalize this agreement, because water has been, like you say, there's something common to the water issue. And I look back 1933, they formed the West Slope Protective Association, which became the River District, and its purpose was to negotiate an agreement with the folks that wanted to build the CBT. Denver kind of snuck in under the radar screen, but it was the CBT. And what they said is they want to be better off tomorrow than they are today. They knew that they couldn't really stop this project. 80% of the folks on the east slope, 80% of the water on the west slope, coming off a very significant drought in the 1930s, coming off a very significant, then was a Great Recession, it was called the Great Depression. So I've come to the conclusion that the more things change, the more things stay the same. They actually believe that their number one priority in Grand County at the time was the protection of the Colorado River, Grand Lake, and the Rocky Mountain National Park. And just like that, our goal was to protect the resources here for the future. With that, I will step down or sit back down, and we can get to signing the agreement.
Do we want everyone over here for the signing, or
The four there that sign are right there in front of us.
these are the ones that'll sign? Okay. All right, well, we'll do that, and then we'll have some closing remarks. So if you'd like to get some pictures and stuff, we'll go with, it'll be Nan Stuart, Karn Stiegelmeier.
Yes, sounds great.
Are you signing? I'm the chair. Oh, you're the chair. Ah, Dan Gibbs will be signing. While they're signing, there's a few other people we'd like to thank also, all the mayors and council people who have come today from Winter Park, Grand Lake, Fraser, some of the water and sanitation districts who have been our partners throughout this thing. Thank you so much for all your work also. Anybody we missed? Oh, the state. Don't we have state? We also want to acknowledge Patty Wells, who's looking over everybody's shoulder all the time. No, thank you very much, Patty. Patty's been instrumental in getting this put through.
This is the signing of the learning by doing.
This is signing of learning by doing. We also have representatives here today from Senator Udall's office. Who else? Bennett's. Where's Bennett's? Okay. And Paulus. So thank you for being here today. Anyone else we've missed? Is that all? Okay, and closing, again, thank you all for being here today. This was just a great time to come together and do something like this. There's a one footnote is we still have work to do there. The mitigation and the process has not been done on the Moffett expansion yet. There's still more work to be done in that area, and there will be additional mitigation that we will see that will go on top of what we're talking about here with the enhancements. Another important note, I'm not sure if everybody truly gets everything that is involved in this agreement. It's not just for Grand and Summit County. This is something where we have worked on the Shoshone Outage Protocol, which we have now. It's the Blue River Decree Settlement, Green Mountain Administration, and plus the enhancements to both the Summit and Grand County. So a very huge cooperative effort from West Slope and East Slope. And again, thanks. The last people we'd like to thank are the people, our staff from Grand County who put this all together. Ed Moyer was kind of the lead on that, but a lot of staff people put a lot of time into this, and thank you very much. And thank you, Lurleen.
Yes.
Stick around, there are refreshments down the hallway, meet and greet for a little bit, and do you have a couple of minutes for? I know there's some little ladies right up here in the front row that would like to get their picture with you, so.
Have you ever heard what Lincoln said?
No.
Did you ever hear? They accused Abraham Lincoln of being two-faced, of being deceitful. He said, that's impossible. If I had two faces, would I be using this one? That's what happened. You should ask them if they really want their picture taken with me.
I think these ladies right here in the front row would like that, but thank you very much. We have time. Come on up and mingle.
Congratulations.